Hi, this is Jim Jerome at Create Vibrant Health, and today is April 27th, 2020. And I entitled this video An Opportunity to Create a New America. And I know it sounds crazy in a way because it seems like we're just hanging on to hold on to our last threads of freedom in the United States with this, our government's reaction, at least state government's reaction to the coronavirus situation. But I do believe that this is an opportunity for people to really see what we could create in this time where things are kind of falling apart. So I've had many people say to me, what is your vision that you want, Jim? I've been critical of the government's response and critical of the medical profession's response to the coronavirus. But my positive vision is actually a society where there's freedom of choice in healthcare. This is not something we have to fight for, but it's sort of enshrined, like it's part of the Bill of Rights. We have a freedom to choose if we want to use homeopathy or herbs or energy medicine or allopathic medicine, but a society where people have a choice. And regardless of what they want to choose, if they want to choose for their own treatment, they can choose it. I'm not against people being vaccinated if they want to, but people choose for themselves. So freedom for healthcare. Also, a vision of a society where the public sees through the propaganda machine that the media has become. And I know that's sort of loaded with some judgment, but in other words, imagine if journalism was interested in truth. What would that be like? Has that ever been the case? It's possible. There are journalists who are interested in truth. They're usually found online and once in a while in the corporate media, but very rarely. But what if there was a system where you weren't you actually were seeking the information, the facts, the truth itself, just like I was wondering what it'd be like a legal system where truth was the goal as opposed to winning. That's why I got out of being a lawyer. It was all about winning, not about finding what's the truth, what really happened here. So we need a system where the incentive is for truth and health. And in healthcare, like the ancient Chinese system, where the doctor in a community was paid by the members of the community as long as those members were still healthy. Once they got sick, they didn't have to pay the doctor anymore. So the doctor was incentivized to prevent illness. What would that be like if we had a society like that, where doctors were paid or healthcare professionals were paid to stay well, by the public, their members to stay healthy? If a person felt ill, then you wouldn't have to pay anymore as long as these people followed your advice. Incredible, or at least the option of that. What would it be like if insurance companies were to actually also cover natural healing and not to be, there could be laws that they were not allowed to invest, insurance companies were not allowed to invest their premiums, the premiums you pay in things that they cover, right? Like pharmaceuticals, which they do now. So the playing field would not be tilted in favor of one group or another. What would it be like to live in a society where the citizens understood their rights? They all knew the Bill of Rights. They all understood their rights and they stood up for them. What would it be like to live in a society where the government was responded to the will of the people? They were not owned by corporate interest. What would it be like if there was representative government, that there wasn't winner take all, that we could actually have a plurality? If there was a third the people believed one way and a third another way, a third the other way, they would all have representation. And then states that would be more, liberal or more conservative, people would gravitate towards those states who want to live there, but they would reflect those people's values. What would it be like to not live in an authoritarian society where the government felt it had the authority to spy on its citizens? What would that be like? That's a world I would like to live in. A world I'd like to live in is where the president cannot just send troops overseas to basically initiate a war without the will of the people through a declaration of war from Congress. What would that be like? Or a monetary system that is actually legitimate, that is one of the few powers that the government has, which is to print their own money backed by some stable asset, some stable, whether it's precious metals or something, to have it stable. And we wouldn't be borrowing money from private banks to run the government's legitimate functions. What would that be like? That's a world, that's a vision I have of a new America. Every single one of those things is on the table from my view. Every single American has to know their rights, the Bill of Rights. They have to know the Constitution. They have to know the limits of the authority that their federal government has, the Congress has, the limits of the authority their state governments, their governors have. If we knew that, we wouldn't be living in lockdowns and stay-at-home orders, because those are blatantly unconstitutional. No governor has the authority under even a declared emergency to quarantine healthy people. They can quarantine people who are contagious and ill if that can be proven, but they can't quarantine healthy people. It's never, ever been a power that was recognized by any court. But since Americans don't know that, they don't know the law, they think if the governor executes an executive order, they think it's a law. It's not. Number one, it's not a law. The legislature was never given the power to delegate that power to the governor. That's right. That's a bit complex, I know, but legally, they have never been given that authority. The legislature does not have the authority to delegate legislative power to the governor. The governor's authority is only to execute laws. That's it. Even executive orders are nonsense. But with a legally illiterate society, not enough people know that, and they wouldn't hold the government accountable. So what would it be like where the people chained the government to the Constitution, as Benjamin Franklin said, was our duty? When he was asked what form, after the Constitutional Convention, he was asked by a reporter, "What form of government do we have, sir?" He said, "We have a republic if we can keep it." If we can keep it. A republic is different than any other form of government. It's not a democracy. It's not the rule of the people. It's not the rule of the majority. It's the rule of law. And the law is the United States Constitution. That is the law. Minority rights are protected, including people that, according to their religion or personal beliefs, don't want to inject toxic chemicals into themselves or their children. That's a minority right. That's a right to take care of your body the way you see fit. What would it be like to live in a society where the people understood that they were the sovereign and the government served them? And they did have the knowledge and the confidence that they could chain the government to the Constitution. So when asked after that question, Benjamin Franklin was asked, what is the duty of the people in this system? He said just that. The duty of the people is to chain the government to the Constitution. To do that, we have to know what the limits of authority is in the government, federal and state and local levels, and we have to have the will and courage to do that. And that's what this video is about. It's a plea to my brothers and sisters, my fellow Americans, to do their duty. Our duty is to chain the government to the Constitution, period. When it violates that and we allow it to happen, it is on us. It's not on the government. People that seek power in government they're not always the most ethical, to put it mildly. They have interest in power. They have interest in other things. If they didn't, they would serve one term and get the hell out of there. There are some that do. I'm not saying they don't, but as a collective, the Founding Fathers knew that. They were a corruptible bunch. And that's it. It's our duty. So it's our duty to be educated. So on that note, I intend to put together a legal education course for citizens to start to help them empower themselves, empower us as citizenry to do our duty, which is to hold the government accountable. And the things that are going on in the United States would not be going on if we had that education, knowledge, and courage. That's what's needed. We need education, we need knowledge, and we need courage. So whether people, however you respond to this video is fine. I'm happy to have constructive criticism or whatever, but I want to make it clear that that's my position at this time, that we all have an oath to uphold the Constitution. We all have an oath to know our position in society. And our position in society is that we, the people, are the final authority. The final authority is not the government, actually. It's not. If that was the case, there would be no America. There'd be no United States of America, because the British Crown was the government. And when it violated its responsibility to the people, the colonists decided it was time to start something new again. In every even state constitution of Oregon has the same, the natural rights, the first section of it states that the natural rights are the foundation of the citizens of Oregon. And any government that is not in alignment with protecting the natural rights of its citizens is no longer a legitimate government. So take a deep look inside your soul and see what is the truth for you. I know the truth for me. So this is Jim Jordan with Create Vibrant Health. Wishing you a wonderful day.